We all recognize that we should take reasonable steps to address our deficit. However, what we're voting on today makes cuts that will harm our students, our public safety, our health, and our environment. When I served as chair of the Financial Services Subcommittee, I worked hard to make sure that we protected the consumer, the investor, and the taxpayer. The agencies funded by this subcommittee ensure that Americans can have confidence in the products that they use and the security of their investments. The CR that we are considering today, with its cuts to the IRS and the Securities Exchange Commission, fails to provide sufficient resources to meet these challenges. IRS funding will be cut by $600 million, and this will have an immediate impact on taxpayer services as we approach the busy tax season. The IRS will be forced to cut as many as 4,100 employees, lost jobs, mainly enforcement agents, and this will harm the ability of the IRS to find tax cheaters. It is important to remember that if we reduce the government's ability to collect taxes, this will actually increase our deficit, since enforcement resources have a $7 to 1 return on investment. The Securities and Exchange Commission will see a $41 million reduction from last year, which will prevent it from hiring the staff it needs to carry out the critical new Dodd-Frank financial oversight functions that it has been given. This will mean that hedge funds, credit rating agencies, and broker-dealers will continue to operate without regulation, adding to an increased risk of another fiscal meltdown. As chair of this subcommittee, I also worked hard to make sure that capital and other assistance went to small businesses and low-income communities. A key part of this was making sure that the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund had the resources it needed to support financial institutions making investments in disadvantaged communities. Under the continuing resolution which we are voting on today, the CDFI fund will get slashed from $246 million last year to just $50 million this year. This will mean that more than 19,000 jobs will not materialize, more than 14,000 affordable housing units will not be built, and more than 3,100 small businesses will not be assisted. I'm particularly distressed that the majority party decided to meddle once again in the District of Columbia's local affairs. We should all be able to agree that D.C. should be left alone to decide how to spend its own locally derived funds. One local program that the majority has decided to ban is the syringe exchange program. The science on this is clear. Giving addicts clean needles does nothing to drive up drug use, but it does do wonders to prevent the spread of HIV/AIDS. Even if you do not believe the science, you should not meddle in the District of Columbia.
The gentleman's time has expired. A gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 3 minutes to the chairman.